Hi, welcome to a weekly session of coding, discussion, reading, and everything. So today's session would be dedicated to continuing what we left previously. We stopped our session on discussion on pseudo labeling. I would love to continue with the code implementation part of pseudo labeling, and we'll take up subsequently we'll take up different topics which are quite interesting and fascinating and would definitely add up to our knowledge base. So let us begin. Let us start. Let me share my screen. And before we begin, please do hit the subscribe button, do hit the like button, do drop your comments if you have any questions not related to the video. If in general, if you have any questions, do hit me. Join my Slack channel, join my community. And the website, Data Science and AI website, has gone a lot of upgradation from what it was previously. If you have any community project you want to share, please hit me up. If you want me to take up any topic of your interest, or if is there anything that you don't understand particularly, please hit me up. I would be more than happy to help you out. Alright, so the initial part is all about data modeling and the data fitting, which I think we can skip and fast forward. So let us fast forward it. If you want, I can give a quick overview of what this particular notebook is doing. So we are getting the MNIST data. After getting the MNIST data, we are reshaping it so as to obtain the images of training and images for labels. Once that is obtained, we are splitting the data into X train, Y train, X test, Y test. We generated a model. We made a convolution model, convolution neural network, defined the image generator, fit the image generator, and defined the various parameters, model compile and model fitting. So it would be fitting for over 80 epochs. Once we are done with that, we will proceed to pseudo labeling. So if everything went perfect, then model training must begin. And I think this part is quite obvious. This part is something you already have done. MNIST data and added to it the training, the defining of the image train, image label, the training data, the model defining, the compilers, everything. So I think this part is quite obvious and clear. But let it happen, let the training happen. So let's stop the model training here. I think it is quite good. We can stop right over here. And I mean, model training is something you can do on your own. That is something we might not need to focus. I mean, after all, the video is to teach pseudo labeling, not how to train the model. So pseudo labeling, once it obtain the trained model, using the trained model, obtain predictions on the test data, assume those predictions as pseudo labels as if those are correct labels. Append the test data and pseudo labels to the trained data. Retrain your model. This is a scratch overview. So ultimately the best way out, the one which we discuss, is train one model, one particular set of deep learning model. Then you do several rounds of pseudo labeling. Then you rectify it by training on real data, then this and again. So this keeps on, but if you want a shortcut, this is a good shortcut. And where is this applicable? So you won't be having a static test data in every of the cases, right? You won't be having static test data in most of the scenarios. So it is only possible when you have a static test data and you want to improve your performance on the static test data, then you can use pseudo labeling. That is how it is. So we have obtained the trained model. I have the trained model. Using the trained model, I can obtain the predictions on the test data. So it would be predictions pseudo labels would be equal to model dot predict on the test data. Alright, we have our predictions, and how is our x, how is our y test? Yep, there's bit difference. I think we might obtain something similar. Very strange. Okay, I think this is the wrong method. Model dot score pseudo labels y test. What is the method you would apply? Model evaluate tf mnist. You can do model evaluate x test y test, or we can do model score yep. Okay, so clearly our model is overfitting. Yeah, that's why there's a huge difference. So let it be, we are not concerned with the model training. You can do the model training part on your own. What I am concerned with, I mean, obviously model is overfitting. You can check the metrics over here. It is obviously overfitting, and there's no need for such a complex neural network. You can simplify it, add some dropouts, more dropouts percentage. Your simplification is easy. Underfitting is difficult to rectify. Overfitting is easy to rectify. Underfitting, if you want to rectify underfitting, you need to add a lot of data. If you need to rectify overfitting, just simplify the model architecture, simplify the parameters, that's it. So that is not an issue. What is needed to be done is we have obtained the pseudo labels. Now what you need to do is new data would be x train new would be equal to your x train np dot concatenate x train and x test, or rather I can mention it as, I can save it as x new, right? And I can save it y new as np dot concatenate np.concatenate ytrain and pseudo labels. Right, so it's a good method to check how the model is performing. If your model score is good, then you can proceed forward. Else, it's not a good approach. Yeah, obviously, if you can assume those as pseudo labels only if the model is a good model, it's not overfitting or is not underfitting, then only this approach is a good approach. So we have the new x new and y new. We don't have numpy defined. Let's define numpy. Import numpy as np. So now we have x new, whose shape would be xtrain dot shape plus xtest dot shape. So is the case with y new dot shape. It would be the sum of ytrain dot shape and pseudo labels dot shape. Perfect. So we have our data. Now again, nothing much. You need to repeat the model training part. So what we did over here is this. So again, define the optimizer. Let's use SGD this time. So I'll be using SGD optimizer. Then let us use SGD. Then let us use learning rate reduction. Let us use checkpoint. We can also use early stopping. So these are my callbacks. Once I'm defined the callbacks, I can do the model compilation, model training, and proceed. As simple as that. If you want, you can split it again into xtrain y test. So what it would be like, it would be something like x1 train x1 test y1 train, because we need the x train and we need the x test and y test for final predictions. When you would be making the submission file, you would need the x test and y test, right? So more specifically, you would be needing the x test part. So y1 train and y1 test equal to train test split on x new y new test split size equal to 0.15. I think this is more than enough. And if everything goes perfect, test size, I think it is what it is. Yup. Now we have our data. We are ready to fit the model. Perfect. Let's reduce the epochs, or we can keep it 8 epochs, 40 epochs, whatever you want. Let's keep it 10 epochs for a quick visualization. So it would be x1 train, y1 train, batch size, steps per epoch, the training data size divided by the batch size, integral division. This would be x1 test, I think, x1 test, and then we have over here y1 test. x1 test dot shape path size. Perfect. And you can see training happening again. So using the finally trained model, or you can repeat multiple cycles of this. You can repeat multiple cycles of this, train like this, then do a rectification round with the original data, then train like this, then do a rectification round using the original data. So that is how it is. And I think that wraps up this particular session. This particular section. And all right, let's move on to the next topic. I think you got the whole of the idea. You got the understanding of what this topic is, how to proceed, what to understand, how to implement. All right, let's move on to the next idea. Now, this section of the video is dedicated to understand what is sequential API and what is functional API for model building. So these are the two methods which are widely used for TensorFlow. If you are using the TensorFlow framework, you will be using sequentially. Either you will be using the sequential approach, or you will be using the functional approach. Whatever it is, so that's how this is how to understand, and this is how to infer. So on a brief overview, what exactly is sequential API and what exactly is functional API? If I want to make the things clear, and a brief summary would be like, sequential API is you're defining the model in a sequence. So you will be adding using the add function on the add method on the model. So you instantiate a model object and you'll be adding the different layers, right? Now this particular API is not quite flexible. So if you want to achieve some better, like you want to achieve skip connections, or you want to do multiple level of concatenations, you can achieve, no doubt you can achieve, but people usually prefer functional API because the layers, you can access a particular layer in a way better manner. You can extract the, basically layer extraction is way better in functional API, and we'll observe how. You can extract particular layer in a sequential API as well, but functional API gives more flexibility. But being a beginner, I would always ask you to use a sequential API. Sequential API is better if you are a beginner, right? Alright. So I hope you are able to see my screen. So yeah, the first line, the import as usual, and you'll have to define the model as a sequential model. So tf-keras models dot sequential. Once this is done, you can define the model dot add the layers. So let's say I want to define conf 2D layers, tf dot layers dot conf 2D with 32 filters, kernel size 3 sprites 1,1, padding equal to same, input shape equals, let's say input shape is 224, 3, right? So again we have here model dot add tf-keras dot layers. Then we have another anything. Let's say I want to add a dropout, or I can add a max pooling, max pool 2D, and how would it be? Let's say pool size equals 2 cross 2. I want to add a dropout layer as well. Percentage dropout, let's say 0.2 is good enough. And let's repeat this once more. And we have 64 layers, 64 filters. This remains the same. We don't have need input shape anymore. Apart from it, let's flatten model dot add tf-keras layers dot flatten. And once you do this, let's add the classification layers as tf-keras layers dense, and let's say 10 units. Activation equals softmax. Okay, we didn't add activation anywhere. Relu is good enough. Alright. And let's obtain model dot summary. And we'll try to achieve the same model with the help of the functional model. Two 32. This is how the entire model looks like. Now let's try to achieve with the help of functional model. So in functional model, you define the layers and you keep connecting the layers, right? So in the sequential API, we're defining the models in sequence. This was the layer, this was the layer, this was the layer. Here you're defining a layer and you will call the previous layer as a function of it. Either the inputs as a function or the previous layer as a function. The first layer is fixed input layer. So input would be equal to tf-keras layers input, and we have shape equals to 224, 224, 3. Then we have x equal to tf Keras layers conf 2-dimensional, and layers are 32. So the padding, I think the padding was 3 cross 3. Kernel size was 3. I hope so, it was 3. What was it? 3. We used 3 in the previous one, so we'll keep the same value. 3 cross 3 padding rights. Padding equals to, let's say, same. And I don't think there's anything else. Alright, perfect. Now you will call the previous layer. We will connect the previous layer as a function of it. Perfect. So the flexibility is you can define it as any layer. So you can define it x1, x2, x2, x3, x4, x5, anything. And for simple models, you should prefer the sequential API. If you are trying to do multiple connections, you are doing merge, concatenate, multiple outputs, multiple inputs, skip connections, functional API is the best way to obtain a clear understanding. So as a beginner, you will start with sequential API, and you would observe a gradual shift from your sequential programming to functional programming for model building in TensorFlow framework. TF Keras layers. Then we have here we have max pooling 2D, and let's say the size is 2,2, and let's pass x as the input. X equal to TF Keras. So x is keeps on changing with the help of the input which is being passed. I can do this x1, and I can pass here x1 as well over here. TF Keras drop out, let's say 0.2, 0.3, whatever it is, and I can pass x1 here. So it's quite simple, quite simple, and gives a great flexibility, right? And cool. Let's add more layers. TF Keras layers conf 2D 64 3 1 cross 1, and if padding equals to same, x to TF Keras layers dot conf max pool 2D 2,2, and we have x over here, and finally we'll define TF Keras layers dropout 0.3 x. I think we are defining this with the same values, 0.2, 0.2. Okay, I think it doesn't matter much. Architecture would be same, parameters would be different, and let's flatten it out. X equal to TF dot Keras dot layers dot flatten the previous input layer, previous layer. Take the previous layer and pass a dense layer with 10 units and activation as softmax. Well, we didn't add activation anyway. That's bad. Alright. Once this is done, you need to define model as TF Keras models.model, where inputs is input, outputs is x. Okay, I think we did something wrong. Okay, yeah, this should be a layer, this should be a list. Okay, we didn't do the function call. Yeah. Perfect, and I think we are done with this. Oh, come on. What is happening? So you can see the same architecture. The benefit is you can define multiple inputs over here, input 1, input 2, input 3, and over here you can define multiple outputs. Internally you can concatenate a lot, so much greater flexibility. And but this is not the logical approach. So being a beginner, if you're a beginner, I would ask you to get a good understanding of the sequential approach. Once you are comfortable with the sequential approach and you want to try out custom complex architectures, or if you want to implement the already, so best way to learn the functional approach is try to re-implement UNet or the ResNet or those kind of architectures on your own. I think that's the best way to learn functional model. All right. So our next topic would be, we'll take up a drawing architecture, and based on the drawing, we'll try to write the code of it. I think that would give you a good understanding of how to make models, custom models. All right. Let's proceed to the next topic. This particular section of the video will be dedicated to implement VGG19 from scratch. So we just learned how to implement functional API and how to do sequential API. So we'll be implementing VGG19 using the functional API. So let us begin. So the architecture of VGG19 is something like this. You have the image coming in, and then you pass through a lot of convolution, max pooling, convolution, max pooling in a sequential manner. So even if you use a sequential way of modeling, you'll be good to go. But let's do it in functional API. So I was a hardcore sequential guy, but later on I became a functional guy, and I hope that this is quite comfortable. This is extremely comfortable. So let's start. So first is image layer. So this importance of STF. Then we have input equal to tf dot keras dot layers dot input. We have shape equals to 224, 3. All right. Let's define x. X would be equal to tf dot keras dot layers. So you can see there's a repetitive pattern, what we call as the block style pattern, or what do you say, is a unit style pattern. So you have one convolution, max pooling, convolution, max pooling. Then you will have convolution, max pooling, convolution, max pooling, convolution, max pooling. So the initial you have 2 convolution and 2 convolution, then you have 4 convolution, 1 max pooling, 4 convolution, 1 max pooling, 4 convolution, 1 max pooling. So we can simplify this part as grouping as 1. So let's see how it goes. So first we'll implement it in a normal fashion, and then we'll improvise the code, right? So really you will be doing this implementation on your own, but it's good to know how to make custom models and how to design custom models. So let's begin. tf.keras layers, we have the first layer as convolution 2D, conv 2D, and I need 64. Kernel size is 3. Kernel size is 3 cross 3. We have stride as 1, activation as relu, and that's it. Input goes in. Next layer is again a convolution. Here the previous layer would be coming into it. We have max pooling, tf keras layers dot max pool 2D. We have 64. We have kernel size of 2,2. Oh no, kernel size of 2,2, or the pooling size of 2,2, which is the default. Stride is 2. Perfect. This particular part will be repeated again with a increased number of filters. 128, 3 cross 3, 3 cross 3, 1 relu. 2 cross 2 and 2. Perfect. Now the next part is convolution will appear 4 times. Alright, here it would be x. This particular part will have 256 and 3 cross 3, everything remains the same. 256, 256, 256, 256, 3 cross 3, 1, everything remains the same. Now let's move on to another part where the number of filters increases to 512. We have 3 cross 3 and 2 cross 2. Perfect. Then the 512 repeats itself again. Finally, we'll end this up with the help of a fully connected layer. With 4096. I think this is a flatten operation, or what is it? Activation is relu. Okay. I think this might pop error. This might pop error. Let's see how it goes. And what we have, activation equals relu. Final layer would be the 1000 classes of MageNet, and with softmax. So my final model would be tf.keras.models.model inputs equals to input, outputs equals to x. What happened? Negative dimension caused by this. Why so? This is 512, 512, 512, 512, 512, 512, 512, 512. Did we do something wrong? I think, where did 2 right up here? 2 is for max poolings, what I can see. And yep, 2 is for max poolings, right? 2 equal to max poolings, right? 2 equal to max pooling. Let's see another better implementation. How did they do it? They are also doing the same. 512 4 times, 1 2 3 4, max pooling 2D, pool size 2,2, and stride also 2,2. Does it make any difference? Flatten would be there as I predicted. Flatten would be there. And what else we have? So it is a sequential model. Nevertheless, things should remain the same. Padding is same. I think padding is needed. Yep. There's one parameter which is not mentioned over here, which is padding, which is also not mentioned in the diagram. Diagram doesn't mention that padding is needed. Alright, so let's add padding. So padding would definitely, hopefully, would solve the padding. What does the padding do? It keeps the dimensions. It is usually maintained for negative dimensions. If you have a negative dimensions issue, it's usually the padding while creating custom neural nets. Let's see how it goes. Perfect. Yippity hoppity. And this is our VGG net, VGG 19, which is similar to can we see the model dot this? No, we cannot see. But this is what it is. And we didn't do flatten. We can do flatten, that would be needed, because obviously that is needed. The diagram is incorrect, but never mind. Let's do a flatten and pass it. Perfect. Let's cross verify number of parameters in VGG 19. Okay, we cannot check the number of parameters in the VGG 19. Okay, 144 million. Approximately same. Perfect. So let's move on to the next implementation, the next architecture, which would be VGG. No, let's implement something better and bit interesting. So this was a sequential. This could have been implemented with the help of sequential models, but now we'll see something which is explicitly better if you implement with the help of functional APIs. So let's proceed. So this will be the last topic of the day, and we'll be discussing about GoogleNet or Inception network. So this particular network is way advanced and way more difficult compared to the VGG19 or VGG16. This network will have multiple layers coming through, multiple branches coming through and concatenating and merging at one point, then spreading out, again merging, spreading out, merging, and a different branch for prediction. So this would be an interesting architecture to implement. So let us begin. Hopefully this would be the last topic for the day, and I would also like to implement ResNet architecture with you. Hopefully that would be in the next session. In the next session we will implement ResNet architecture from the very scratch. So this particular thing which I found on internet is the official implementation paper. Is the official paper, not the implementation, but is the official paper which introduced GoogleNet architecture, which was an extension to the ExceptionNet module. So as you can see, I'll not read the paper with you, that would take up a lot of time, but what I will do here is try to implement based on the information provided. So this is the architecture in front of you. This is the architecture. So you pass in the input, it goes through convolution layer, max layer, batch norm, again convolution, batch norm, then max pool, then goes into a branching which is quite repetitive. So what we call it as an inception module. This is an inception module, this is also an inception module, this is also an inception module, this is an inception module, and out of which we also are able to derive a branch which is a softmax 0 branch. This is an inception module, this is another inception module, and here we have another branch which is the softmax 1, inception module, and final output. So let us dive in. I am so excited to get started with this. So this would be fun to implement. So let us begin. So I think anything which is repetitive This is the modular structure I was talking about. So we even had modular structure here. So this was quite repetitive, but that would have been a time wastage of time. So, but here it is quite evident, and there are quite many, so I won't be typing code every time. So what we can do is implement the repetitive part. So what is repetitive here is one is this auxiliary part, which is, this is what the paper calls it, auxiliary classifier. The reason for having auxiliary classifier is only during the training, not for the inference. So while training, so as to, there's a vanishing gradient problem as the layers go deeper. So if the layers go deeper, there's a problem of vanishing gradients, and the way to counter the vanishing gradients effect is with the help of auxiliary classifiers. So this is what the auxiliary classifier is for. This is also another auxiliary classifier, and here we are able to see the softmax. So let's begin inception module. So we have to import TensorFlow, the number of classes for ImageNet. Okay, cannot connect to GPU, do not connect to GPU, I don't need GPU for this. What you can connect to is none and save, perfect. So let us implement inception part, or let us start from the scratch, right? Let's start from the scratch. Input would be input tf.keras.layers dot input shape, let's say, is 224 3. Now we have the input. The next layer would be a conv2d. I hope you are able to see. X equal to tf.keras.layers dot conv2d, and 7 cross 7 is the, not the filters, is the kernel size, 7 cross 7. Then we have 2 as the strides. Padding equals to same. Till now filters is unknown. Let it be. Next we move on to max pool. I think this particular part is also above in the paper. Yep, here it is. So we have convolution 77 stride 2, number of filters 64. We'll pass the input in a functional manner. Now we have max pool, x equal to tf keras dot layers dot max pool 2-dimensional with path size as 3 cross 3, strides as 2, right? Done. Now let's proceed to convolution. This is the linear initial part of the input which is happening now, and we have filters as 192. We have filters 192, kernels 3, 3, strides equal to 1. Padding, we need to see what padding is defined, or we can check out by scrolling. So let's see what kind of padding is defined. So this is valid. Okay, so I think we missed the 1 cross 1 because 1 cross 1 is not mentioned in the table, but it is there in the architectural drawing. tf keras layers dot max pool 2d. Filters, not max pool 2d. This should have been conv 2d. The filters, let's see how many filters we have. 1 cross 1. 1 cross 1 is quite interesting. Convolution 2D, you can read about it. So I was reading about 1 cross 1. So what it does is I have one layer which has this dimensions. N is the batch size, F is the number of filters. So if I pass a 1 cross 1 filter, the number of filters will change. So this is a special kind of convolution operators in which you can change the number of filters without affecting the dimensionality. Without affecting the spatial dimensionality, you're affecting the number of filters. So 1 cross 1 convolutions are used to compute the reductions before expensive 3 cross 3 and 5 cross 5 convolutions. So before using 5 cross 1 and 3 cross 3, you can use 1 cross 1 filters. So that is the idea. which has been introduced in this particular paper. And let's see what is here. Over here we have strides equals to 1, padding equals to valid, filters equal to, we don't know how many filters are there because it's not defined over here. Over here we have 3 cross 3, not 1 cross 1 defined. So I'll keep the number of filters same, I'm not changing it. Let's see how it is. And after maxpool 2D we need to add a batch normalization, which is over here, which is also needed to be done. So x equal to tf.keras.layers dot batch normalization minus pass x, the 2 convolution layers, another batch normalization. The first one is valid, another is same. Now let us proceed to the batch normalization layer. The batch normalization layer would be simple enough, should be simple enough, and let us pass in the carry forward the previous layer's output. And this goes forward to a max pooling layer. This goes forward to a max pooling layer. So this would be max pool 2D, and the 2-dimensional max pooling would be 3 cross 3, and the strides would be equal to 2, padding would be equal to same. Perfect. This is the initial part of it. Now we have the repetitive part. So let us implement the repetitive part. This is the repetitive part. So we'll implement the repetitive part now, which is the inception module. So we have the input layer X, and we have number of filters for the convolution happening, right? So the first convolution, so what happens is input comes in. This is my path 1, this is my path 2, this is my path 3, this is my path 4. We have 4 different possible, not possible, 4 different paths in which it is diverging and finally concatenated, merging. So for path 1 would be something, path 2 goes through 2 phases, 2 sequences. So does path 3 goes through 2 sequences, and so does path 4 goes through 2 sequences. Now for path 1 we have tf keras layers dot conf 2-dimensional filters equals to something. We have 1 cross 1, we have strides equal to 1, we have padding equals to same. Here comes the input. This would be the ultimate output of path 1. We'll check out the number for the number of filters. For path 2 it is something like keras dot, so filters, how the filters would happen is, I'll define, let's say what happens over here, x equals to inception, I'll call the function inception and pass in my layer, right? And here I'll pass a list of filters. So for this particular inception 1, first inception, you see what happens in first inception. For inception first, it happens in this way. The 1 cross 1 is sent 64 filters. Okay. The second one goes through 2 stages. The first one is 96, the second one is, first one 3 cross 3 reduce, 96 filters. The other one is 128. So is the path 3. This is path 3. In path 3, the first one is 16, the other one is 32. In path 4, the pool projection is 32. Then this would be repeated quite often. So this is the idea. So for filters, we'll be accessing filters 0th element, which is the single unit. Let us copy this. We'll do the required changes, don't worry. And and we'll do the required changes. Convolution, the last one is a max pooling. Filters, or the pool size, better to say, is pool size would be 3 cross 3 strides equal to 1, padding equals to same, and we have the input x coming over here. We pass on the path 4 output to this. Now let us get it done. Path 1 is resolved. Path 1, you have the filter 0, which we will define when the time of functional call, and the time of functional call, these many filters will be assigned to the 1 cross 1 convolution layer, and that goes to the output. Output is a depth concatenation, so tf.keras.layers.concatenate x is equal to -1, and pass in the outputs: path 1, path 2, path 3 output, path 4 output. Right. Now let us do the required changes. We have path 2, we have filters would be equal to the element array, the list array element 1, 0th index, because that was a list in a list, and index 1. This is 2, 0. This is 2, 1. This is 3. Perfect. The filters are done. Now let us define the strides. Strides is 1, 1, 1. So I think strides doesn't have any change. Padding is same. Padding is also same. The one thing which changes is the kernel size. So for first is 1 cross 1, for second is 1 cross 1 and 3 cross 3. Then it is 1 cross 1 and 5 cross 5. Finally it is 1 cross 1. 3 cross 3 goes to 1 cross 1. Perfect. I think this is implemented. Let's run it. Okay, let's now define filters. Just remove the word filters. Pythonic error. Let's see does it pop any error or not. If our implementation is correct, it won't pop any error, but we are getting an error at the very beginning. Okay. I won't call the filters argument anymore. My bad. What happened now? So what do we need to define in patch normalization? Yup, we didn't call the previous thing. X goes here, and perfect. So till now our implementation is correct. So let us proceed forward. We have defined the first module. We can define the second one. Similarly, inception X. We have how many? We have inception X. We'll define the filters later on. Then we have a max pool, x equal to tf.keras.layers.max pool 2-dimensional, which is 3 cross 3, strides equal to 2, padding equal to same. This goes again to an inception block. Another inception. So this goes into an inception block, and a part of it is the auxiliary part, right? Auxiliary. A part of it is the auxiliary part, and we'll pass in the input. The rest of it goes into the inception part. So x equal to inception x, another inception, one more inception, we have one more auxiliary, which is softmax 2, auxiliary x. We have final inception with a max pool in between, x equal to tf keras layers dot max pool 2-dimensional, which is 3 cross 3 strides 2, padding equal to same x. We have an inception here, x equal to inception x, another inception here, and finally the classification part. X equals to an average pooling layer tf keras layers dot average pooling 2-dimensional, which is having 7 cross 7 strides as 1, padding equals to valid over here as mentioned. Then we have a fully connected layer, x equal to tf keras layers dense. I think we need to flatten it out. X equals to tf keras layers dot flatten and dense, then softmax activation, and that's the final output, which is called as main. Right. So the final model would be model equals to model tf dot keras dot models dot model, inputs equals to input, outputs equals to softmax 0, softmax 1, softmax 2. So let's see the inception. Let's complete the inception part. I think we won't need the diagram one anymore, and we can straight away get to the value filling. So till I think we have implemented the first inception part. How many inception we have? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 8 9 inceptions. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. We have 8 inceptions here, and how many inception does it have? It has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Wow. Okay, we'll get to know which one did we miss. That's not an issue. That will be rectified, not an issue. So starting from the very beginning, we had done with the max pool 2-dimensional, and now we are about to start with the inception. We have implemented the first inception, which was having 64 units, 96 in the second path, 128 in the second path, second element, 16, 32 and 32. Next is 128 in the first path. In the second path we have 128, 192. We have 32, 96. And we have 64. In between we have a max pool layer as mentioned over here. Then we have another inception unit which takes in input as 192 in the first 1 cross 1. Then we have 96 and 208. Proceeding forward we have 16 and 48. Then we have 64. Auxiliary is auxiliary. Then we have another layer 160. 160. Then we have 112. 112 we have 224. And then we have 24. 64, and we have 64. Proceeding forward, we have 128. We have 128 and 256. We have 24, 64. We have 64. Done. 112. 112. We have 144. We have 288. 32, 64. 64. Finally, we have, wow, finally the calculation stands perfect. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. What? 64, 128, 192, 160, 128, 112. Okay, 256, 3 layers are there. 256, 112 after this. Yup, we found it. Here we have 256. Here we have 160, 320, 32, 128, 128, and here we have 256, 160, 320, 32, 128, 128. Proceeding forward, we have 384, 192, 384, 48, 128, 128, and this is our model. I think we are done with it. We didn't define the auxiliary part. Let's define the auxiliary part. That's damn simple. This is the auxiliary part. Let's start from here, then we'll implement the parts. The input comes in, it goes to a layer which is tf.keras.layers average pooling 2D, wherein it is 5 cross 5, strides equal to 3, padding equals to valid, pass in the input. The layer is carried forward to a convolution 2-dimensional, of which filters are unknown, and the kernel is 1 cross 1, the stride is 1, it is same, this time it is layer. The layer is further carried to a fully connected layer twice, tf keras layers dot tens, and here we have the softmax activation. Nothing much. So filters, so let's get into the details. Details are as follows: average pooling layer with 5 cross 5, filter size and stride 3, padding is valid as mentioned over there, resulting in an 4 cross 4 cross 512 output for A. Okay, and 4 cross 4 cross this. Alright, convolution 2D with 1 cross 1 kernel, 128 filters, used for dimensionality reduction and ReLU activation. Okay, we didn't mention activation in none of the convolutions already. We'll do that. Fully connected layer with 1024 units and rectified unit. Alright, 1024. Activation equals to ReLU. Dropout layer that was not mentioned in the architecture. Layer equals to tf.keras.layers.dropout with 70% dropout ratio. Then it goes to a final layer with softmax classifier. So this is classes. One thing we need to do is activation equal to ReLU for each of the convolution layer. Activation equals to ReLU. This needs to be added to each of the convolution layers. Perfect, 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 perfect. Here we have. Alright, the dense layers is classes, comma, activation, and that's it. Softmax 1 is not defined. Softmax 1 is not defined. Yeah, that is my main. Softmax 1 should have been defined. It is softmax 1, and we have main over here, and we are finally done with this. Let us obtain the model. Summary. And we have finally obtained our GoogleNet implementation more or less correct. I hope you learned a lot with this implementation, and then we will learn that to solve the binary sharing gradients issue, GoogleNet introduced these kind of things: softmax 0 auxiliary functions. Then we'll understand how the skip connections work. Here you learned about concatenation and the use and flexibility of accessing any layer out of anywhere. So I can pass in over here, I can pass in path 2. I don't worry, I need not to care. I don't care. So that's the level of flexibility you obtain. Every path is obtained as an output. You can obtain any particular path, store it any variable. That is the flexibility that is provided with the functional API. You will appreciate it more once we move on to the ResNet implementation, which will be there in the next session as we are running out of time. In the meanwhile, take care and do hit the subscribe button. I hope I'm providing good content for you to learn and evolve. If there's something else you would like me to add in my sessions, please do help me with your comments, and please do hit the likes button. Please do share with your friends. Please hit the subscribe button. That would help me a lot, and that will definitely help me a lot. Alright, take care. Bye bye.